Hey there, friends. One of the things that I pride myself on this channel is the very fact that I can agree with somebody, but I can also disagree with somebody. This somebody at this point is Donald J. Trump. I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, and I would probably vote for him again. However, I have questioned a lot of his Second Amendment decisions, and I'm actually questioning right now his Attorney General pick of Pam Bondi. Guys, go check out my friends, Attorneys on Retainer. These guys are way more than an insurance company. They are going to help you in the event that you have to draw your weapon and use it. Very, very good to have attorneys in your corner instead of a salesman or an insurance agent, right? That's the way I look at it. I want somebody who understands the law, supporting me, backing me, and more importantly, protecting me and my family. Check them out. Attorneys on Retainer. Again, Attorneys on Retainer. Use my discount code FTATF and receive half off your one-time sign-up fee. And actually, you guys might need Attorneys on Retainer after you see the rest of this video, because I don't know what kind of idiot would prevent honest law-abiding people who have committed no crimes from owning firearms, but yet that's where we are. Of course, you know Donald Trump chose Pam Bondi as his pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz dropped out for consideration. Now, there are a lot of things to consider here, and I'm going to get more into the weeds here in a second about what has actually been said by Pam Bondi regarding the Second Amendment. Remember, she was the AG in Florida when Parkland happened. If you remember, Rick Scott, who is a senator now, was the governor of Florida at the time. Well, they got together and they passed a slew of gun legislation based on what? Emotion. What have I said countless times? When something happens that is a true and outright tragedy, the worst thing to do is pass legislation in a short period of time. Why? Because emotions are still high. You are still acting strictly on emotion. That's no different than one of us in a road rage incident and people telling you, do not go to your weapon. That's not the first thing you do. The emotions are high. You need to settle down. You need to think it through, and then you need to make the right decision. And usually the right decision is made, again, regarding road rage type incidents. I look at these mass casualty events very similar to a road rage incident. We should not be passing legislation when everybody's in a tizzy. Am I faulting or blaming people for being emotional? No, of course not. Yeah, I'm emotional too when these things happen. But you know what I don't do? I don't start writing up gun legislation and forcing it through. Why? Because I know people are acting irrationally based on emotion. I have to keep repeating that. We should not be legislating based on emotion. Well, Pam Bondi has a long history, and I'm going to be very adamant about being against this lady. She has a long history of being anti-gun, and quite frankly, when I listen to her speak on this topic, I wonder if she's not stupid. And not because she's a woman. Don't make this into, oh, it's misogyny. No, this is common sense. I wonder if she's stupid. I want you to see this clip right here where her and Donald Trump are sitting there. And this is what worries me, because Donald Trump knows he's not an attorney. He knows she is, and he knows that she is more well equipped to make decisions about laws and about guns than he is. So he leans on her. This is a conversation they had a few years back after Parkland, when her and at the time Governor Rick Scott were trying to push through anti-gun legislation. And let me be clear, don't be fooled by the words when you listen to this conversation between Trump and Pam Bondi. Let me be very clear. All red flag gun laws are unconstitutional whenever they do not include at every step, not a portion of the way, if they do not include due process every step of the way, whatever step they eliminate due process, that's unconstitutional. And Pam Bondi should know this. But I want to be super clear about this. All red flag gun laws are unconstitutional, and I don't care what you call it. You can create a new fancy name called a red flag confiscation, a red flag, well, in her case, she calls it a red flag restraining order. Oh, that sounds way better than a confiscation order, right? It literally does the exact same thing. Listen to this conversation between Bondi and Trump.
Bring in something called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. So if someone is civilly committed, and typically you can hold them for up to 72 hours, but people are getting out within 24 hours, the majority of them. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves
Which you can't
or
do
others.
right now.
Well, because without being adjudicated. So because they're a danger to themselves.
You want them to take the guns and
when they are
not
committed.
go through 6 months of legal trials and everything
Exactly.
else,
But we also have to give the mentally ill the due process in which they deserve, President. So what we're doing is they're going to be able to take the guns when they're taken into custody or into the hospital, and then when they're released within 24 hours or 72 hours later, typically it's 24 hours, but law enforcement will have 72 hours to determine whether they should give those guns back, or they can go to a judge and say, Your Honor, please keep these guns. We feel this person is still a danger to himself or others.
So Bondi is literally, by definition, explaining to Trump what a red flag illegal gun confiscation order would do, and then says, or at least claims, that it is constitutional and that it includes due process. Did you hear anywhere in that conversation where due process was involved? The people she's talking about have not committed a crime. They have not committed a dangerous act. They have not committed any kind of violence against themselves or anybody else. This is a guess. This is an estimation. This is a maybe. So she is describing a situation where a person who has done nothing wrong or nothing dangerous can have their guns illegally taken from them, because if they've done nothing wrong and there has been no court to determine that they're guilty of something, removing their firearms from them is illegal. There is no two ways about that. There's not even like a confusion right there. I mean, you can't even take, well, maybe I didn't see her side. No. It's illegal. The person did nothing wrong. You chose to take their guns from them because you guessed, you had a hunch. So you took their guns from them based on a hunch, not a fact, a hunch. Then, while this person is in a hospital or whatever, like she's describing, remember, you've taken their guns from them. So at this point, they may not be in any real danger at this point because they're in the hospital. But whenever they go to get let out, because remember, you just deemed that this dangerous person was no longer a danger, so you're going to let them out on the street. However, they're just dangerous enough, in her words, where you can go to a judge and plead with the judge to, let him go home, but don't give him his guns back. Where's the due process? Was asking the judge if you can keep his guns illegally, was that the due process? Oh, we included a judge in the process. Really? You included a judge halfway through the process, and you still didn't give this man his day in court. You have to be able to face your accuser. That's not due process. What, are you going to give him a questionnaire and let him fill out? That's your due process too? It's preposterous to think that at any point you could take somebody's guns away who has not committed a crime. And then you put them in a hospital because you think they're too dangerous to themselves and to everybody else. And then you say, time to let them out. They're no longer a danger, but we're going to keep their guns. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. It's the person who commits an act of whatever, crime, rage, whatever. The tool that they decide to use is after this determined it wants to create havoc or a tragedy or a mass casualty event. This did it. The mere placement of a gun in a house doesn't make, that person doesn't look at that gun and go, man, it's screaming my name right now. Boy, I tell you what, if that gun wasn't here, I'd be good, but man. It is there, and I'm here, and there are people out there. What the hell? I'm going to take that gun and I'm going to go kill people with it. No, that's not how this works. So if you can actually sit here with a straight face and tell me that you have two things in play right here. The person, which is the thing that decides to do something wrong and evil, and a completely inanimate object that has no will, no free will, nothing like that. It's just sitting there until this guy decides to grab it. This guy may never grab the gun. He may never do that. But when you remove it, you made this person defenseless. I don't care how you look at it. You just created a dangerous situation, because you have to understand, these are not high-class people in most cases. In most cases. A lot of times whenever they're messing with these people, these are people that are very low-income people, and guess where they live? In the more dangerous areas. So you're picking on the poor people, and you're picking on people who are living in areas where they need that protection. So you just made them a target. And I'm sure there's going to be some kind of newspaper article tied to this. So now you're going to notify every single neighbor and every other bad guy out there that the person living in your dangerous neighborhood now is unarmed. In fact, they better not get a gun, because they're probably going to go to prison for life now, because you determined that they're too dangerous to have a gun to begin with. But the silliness is, you put this person back out on the street without their gun. This person can go steal a gun. They can go buy one off the street. They're already in the bad neighborhood. Their neighbor probably has a trunk full of guns that they can buy from them. So they never really were a danger, were they? You let them back out on the street. Were they ever really a danger, honestly? Was this just a ploy to limit the amount of guns out there? So now at the end of the year, you can check off, we took more guns off the street. Because that's what they do. You can't tie a negative to a gun being taken off the street automatically. Just because you remove this gun off the street doesn't mean it was going to commit a crime. With obviously somebody else has to pull the trigger. But the gun, just because you took it off the street doesn't mean it was going to be involved in a crime. But that's what they do. This is all a political ploy for them. Yes, I understand that at some point they have to be smart enough to realize we still let the nut job out. Even if the guy is crazy, we let him out because we determined that he was not crazy or a danger anymore, but he's still enough of a danger where we're going to keep his guns from him. And guess what? We took 10 guns off the street because he had 10 guns. Yay, look what this did. We're fighting gun violence. Gun violence. That's what they're doing. They automatically tie a positive to a potential negative when they pull that gun off the street, like they did something. And again, there's no measurable way to know that that gun would have been involved in anything. If somebody red flagged me, none of my guns will ever be used in a crime unless they're stolen from me. So when somebody takes all my guns from me, we took all these guns away from Paul, so the streets are safer now. Actually, it's just the opposite. The streets are less safe because now I can't carry a gun anymore because somebody red flagged me unconstitutionally. Am I the only one that sees the fallacy in this whole red flag gun law thing? Can Pam Bondi be this stupid to think that this is a legitimate argument? And I know what you might be thinking. Well, this was at Florida's level. She had no intention of doing this. Nationally. Now that she's going to be the AG for the United States, things are going to be different because that was Florida. And she was just trying to get her hands around some kind of a little problem down in Florida. No, that's not true. She was actually on Stuart Varney's show a while back also, probably back in that same time frame, let's be honest here. And she was stating that she wished Congress would do some of the same things. This is something she's going to push at the national level. Take a listen.
That's why nothing ever gets done in Congress, in my opinion. People are so polarized to one side or the other. And, we just experienced a traumatic school shooting in Florida. And it's finding common ground, something that both sides can agree on. And President Trump has been just amazing, listening to these families and really being a mediator, I think, with Congress. And hopefully Congress will follow Florida's lead and what Governor Scott's been doing here in Florida and all of us working so well together.
So don't tell me that Pam Bondi is harmless. Pam Bondi is either stupid or she is a wolf in sheep's clothing. She is a Trojan horse, if you will. Because she is ushering in some of the more radical anti-gun laws that they implemented in Florida, again, based on emotion. So what does it take, right? Is she going to get confirmed? And then there's going to be, you know what I'm about to say, because we call it all the time and it happens. There's going to be another mass shooting or a school shooting. At the national level, she's going to suggest the same things that worked in Florida. That's what she's going to say. We did this in Florida, me and Senator Rick Scott, who was governor at the time, and look what we did. It was a great plan. Let's do it nationally. That's the danger. You're going to have this woman in there, based on emotion, she's going to react irrationally, and she's going to convince somebody like Donald Trump, who is not an attorney, to pass these same kind of laws. Remember, that Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, it included hundreds of millions of dollars of bribe money to convince the states to implement their own red flag gun laws. You don't think they're going to keep doing that now? This Pam Bondi is going to make sure that money still gets spent to bribe these people to do that, and she's going to get a check mark by her name. Matt Gaetz would not have done that. Matt Gaetz would have worked to try to convince people to gut that Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and get rid of all these stupid things that it did to pilfer the states out of their money and then to give it back again in the form of bribe money to implement these red flag gun laws. I don't see that being undone now. I am going to work tirelessly to keep Pam Bondi from getting confirmed. I'm serious about this. I'm not joking. We have a lot of time. There's, roughly a month and a half, 2 months that we're going to be able to look at getting senators on board to vote against her. I think that our best bet is going to be the Republican senators, obviously, but you got Senator Lindsey Graham out there giving himself a reach around. He's so excited about this. We're going to have to convince some of these guys of who she is. And I think we have to do like what I've done in this video and take their own words in a clip that they've said themselves and make her answer for that. Her confirmation hearing, hopefully it never gets to that, but her confirmation hearing should include these same tough questions, because these senators out there, and let's just say Democrats in general, are all talking like, oh no, we don't want Pam Bondi. She's just like she's another Trump shill and blah, 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 like all this kind. Secretly, they're thinking, we're going to act like we don't want her so they fight harder to keep her. And then they're going to quietly confirm her with no issues whatsoever. Why? Because she's the one that's going to work to push their anti-gun agenda through. So you start watching, you're going to see a little bit of blowback from the Democrats as if they're faking, or they will be faking it, but as if they're like, oh, really mad because Pam Bondi's been named as the AG, but they're not going to fight it when the time comes to actually confirm her. We do have time to get this word out there. I think it's very important that we let our senators know where we stand. And it would be nice to have the same amount of uproar and disapproval openly as Matt Gaetz had, so they make this decision early to pull her from that AG position, and at least Trump can nominate somebody else for that process. This is not good though, folks. We need to stop high-fiving each other every time Trump names somebody and look at who they really are. And this person is not right for the Second Amendment, and certainly not right for the rest of the Constitution if that's how she feels about just this one amendment.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.